Find us on Facebook, email us at head2headpinball@gmail.com, or go to our website at head2headpinball.com.
Welcome everybody to the Head2Head Pinball podcast. This is episode 46 and my name's Martin and with me
it's Ryan C. Marty, we've been interviewing people non-stop. Who else have we got left? Have we missed anyone?
Well, we've probably missed someone that probably does need to get a bit more of a profile on these things. What do you think?
Yeah, sound's important to me. I've talked about sound all the time. So we picked up the phone and we dialed Jerry Thompson's number. Jerry, how you going?
Hi, how are you guys?
Good. So how would you describe your job as a sound engineer at Stern Pinball?
Wow, jump right into it, huh? Well, I mean, I describe it as my dream job, really. I mean, how fun is that to get to do something that you love? You know, my job is and combine my passion, which is pinball, and it's not like work, when you love it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of what I said before about, probably needing to raise the profile of it. When we think about machines that are being designed, we sort of hear, the designers by this, the art by that, the sound is that, but it's not necessarily as defined, I think, as the other roles. So that's kind of why we've sort of asking that first question is, how would you describe it to people to understand the importance of it?
Well, that's a good point, because even friends of mine who, when I say I do pinball sound packages, they say, what is that?
Yeah.
So I said, well, basically every sound that's in the game, I have to provide. And so, that's hundreds of sounds. So, I mean, when you think about anything that's on the display, that has to have an effect that goes with it. And, it's kind of like doing Foley. You familiar with Foley for movies where,
yes.
You got to recreate the footsteps and all that. I mean, everything has to have a sound, every switch, every button. And honestly, I mean, before I started doing it, I didn't even realize how much went into it.
Okay, well then let's step back before we go into really deep diving into the pinball thing. What was your career before getting into pinball? And so what led you to do this?
Well, I started my oldest brother was in radio. And so I started in radio when I was 16. I got a radio job at the local radio station, and then I ended up doing mornings in several cities and eventually making it to Houston, Texas, and doing mornings there for a radio station. And during that time, I met some pinball people. I had seen a Twilight Zone pinball game in a store in like '94, and I loved Twilight Zone, this TV series. And I just, in the back of my mind, I thought, I got to get one of those one day. But, at the time, eBay wasn't around. No, who knew how to get a coin-op machine, So when eBay came around, 1998, I found one, and so Twilight Zone was my first machine, and you know how they grow after you get one.
Yeah.
Well, we do know.
pretty quickly. So and then I met pinball people in Houston, and I went to the first Dallas pinball show and the first Houston pinball show, and so I just, I moved to Seattle in 2003, and started just doing audio and video production and voice work. Got out of the daily radio business, but I still voice a lot of radio and TV stations around the country and around the world. Actually, I've got some stuff in Dubai and Hawaii and various other places that I do. So I got to Seattle. I met pinball people here, and eventually we just we had a yearly get-together that got so big we decided to do a show in 2008, and so I was one of the organizers of the Northwest Pinball and Arcade Show. So I'm a pinball fan, and so I've been doing sound for a long time. And
why did you want to start working on sound? I know you've obviously got the background, and you said just sort of like it's the passion that you do, but there's many sort of high-profile careers that you can have in sound. Why pinball?
Well, I was producing radio imaging after I got off the air as a DJ, and so basically that's it would be my job to create the sound of the radio station. For the imaging is the things that go between records and station promotions and things like that. So it would be my job to write those, produce them, sometimes voice them. And, so my job was imaging. And so the journey to pinball, actually, I met through our pinball show here in Seattle. It was my job to get people as speakers. And so Steve Ritchie came up our first year, and I needed some more people to fill out the schedule. And so luckily we have Steve Wiebe, who lives here, and he was in the King of Kong documentary movie. I don't know if you're familiar with that, with the Billy Mitchell and Steve Wiebe. So he came. Greg Dunlap, who used to work at Williams, was also one of the volunteers who put the show together. And he said, I've got some video that I took when Williams closed, just like walking through there. And he goes, I could do a seminar. So, and then I found out through reading Pin Game Journal that David Thiel, who was doing Stern sound packages, he had just done Spider-Man and Pirates of the Caribbean, lived here. And so I contacted him, and he was a speaker at our first show. And so he and I got to be friends. We started going to concerts together. We went to AC/DC and Steely Dan. We both like music. I'm a drummer, and so we became friends. And I met Lonnie Ropp through David. And so in 2011, when the Rolling Stones pinball game was being worked on, Lonnie called me and he said, "Hey, sorry."
I said it's a great machine. I was being really.
I think so. I think so too. I bought an LE. I had a Pro. And I got an LE because I liked it so much. I love that game, and I love the Rolling Stones. But so Lonnie said, "I know you were in radio, and how about you help out writing some speech for Rolling Stones?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to." And so that was like cool. And then so fast forward to Mustang, and Lonnie called me and he said, "Hey, since you didn't get to talk in Rolling Stones, do you want to talk in Mustang?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I ended up doing several voices in the Mustang game, and
you did all like the jackpot call outs and stuff like that.
I did those, and that's the one thing my kids go around making fun of me, or they did at the time, going jackpot, because there's some really crazy ones in there, but. So I got to know Lonnie, and I got to know Greg Ferreras through the show in 2009. He came here, and he and Dennis were my guests then that I invited, and they kind of got together at a restaurant and decided the idea of Whoa Nelly back then. And so Greg and Dennis would always say, "Well, yeah, no, it wouldn't. If not for Jerry, there wouldn't be Whoa Nelly, and we wouldn't be working together again." So when they decided to produce Whoa Nelly at Stern, Greg called me and he's like, well, this game's going to have sound now. And I thought, you should be in it. And so I did some sounds for that and some speech. And so that, Lonnie and Greg led me there. And then I met Dwight when I was there after Whoa Nelly. And we were talking, and I was working on something else, just not a full project. But so I said to him, I said, I know you're doing Ghostbusters, and I said, I really, really want to be the guy for that. I said, I feel like I'm the right guy for this. And so he said, but you've never done one by yourself. And I said, I know, but just if you give me a chance, I know I'm the right guy. And so he's like, well, let's go talk to George. So we went into George Gomez, and he said, well, you've never done one by yourself before. and I said, I said, let me, give me a chance. And so I came back home, and I said, I got the right guy. There's this guy that's been a friend of mine for years that I played with and in a band. And I knew he'd be the perfect guy for music for the game. And so I got him told him what I wanted, got him to do a couple of demo tracks, and sent them back to them, and luckily they gave me the chance, and it's been great ever since. I love my job. I can't say enough how fun it is making pinball games.
So when you're thinking about the package that you're putting together, you've got to balance a lot of things together, because as you said, every single bit of sound that comes out of a machine you've got responsibility for. So that is speech. that is also ambient sound and music that's playing in the machine, and it's also any sort of noise that happens, when you hit a spinner or you hit pop bumpers, all that kind of stuff. What's your approach to trying to pull all those things together?
Well, Ghostbusters, I kind of had the idea. I wanted it to sound like the movie and the era. I wanted the music to have that, and I have a Lindrum machine that was the drum machine of the 80s. It's really on was. So you're familiar with it then.
I know the Lindrum very well.
And so I've got a set of Simmons drums too, and so I was like, I want to use this stuff and have period authentic, sound in the game on the music, and then I looked at the playfield art, and the pop bumpers have the city scene where the streets are going through there, and I was like, okay, well, pop bumpers should have horns on them, and I gotta tell you though, on the premium and LE, Dwight Sullivan had an idea for my favorite sound on that, and that's the Magnus Ling sounds. I don't know if you've played the game and you know those kind of twirling sounds you get when the ball is.
Now that I'm hearing them, are they the Simmons hits sort of pitched down?
No, those are actually I had used in something else a theremin, which is an older instrument. The Beach Boys, have theremin on their records.
Yes,
and so Dwight was programming the Magnus Slings, and he called me and he's like, "These are doing some really cool things." He goes, I need some kind of cool sound for that. And he said, "What about that theremin?" And so I worked on some of those, and it just, that's one of my favorite things in the game, and that was Dwight's idea. That's the other thing, it's like it may start with me, but it's a process, and that's what I really love too. Because in radio, I was kind of like, they gave me the job and I did it, and nobody, there was not really collaboration. Maybe in the old days before radio became so consolidated, we would all get together and say, how do we brand ourselves, or how do we do a promotion to compete against the other station? But, now that a lot of radio stations in the U.S. are owned by 2 or 3 big companies, there's not as much of that, battling each other. You kind of work together to not step on each other. So I love working together with the Stern guys and the programmers and designers, and and bouncing ideas off each other. It makes it better. The collaboration makes it better.
Jerry, so you are creating the sound package, and I guess you have a massive list of all the sounds you need to get into the game, and you present that to the development team and say, here's 3,000 WAV files. But you don't get to actually implement them in the game, right? So there can be sounds that are left out, or things that are maybe not, designed and put in there on the final cut the way that you envisage them. Is that right? I usually title them where I think they should go, and then if Dwight or whoever's programming, Lyman, Tanyo, don't think that's right or want to try something different, we'll do that. But usually I try to say, let's put this here. This is my vision of it. And then we'll work together to, make it better. Keith on Iron Maiden really had that game planned out rule-wise, and a lot of sounds in his. He envisioned that whole game in his head, and he's like, I want this, Stuka sound, and he had specific ideas, which is great. That game is really, it turned out great. I know you guys have already interviewed Zombie Yeti and Keith about it, and Rick Nagel was the software guy on that game, and he did a great job too. So how about the example I was trying to lead to is like Ghostbusters, for example. So every multi-ball in a pinball machine usually has its own unique sound and kind of backtrack to it. I believe, I'm not sure if it's changed on any software updates, but when I owned the machine, if you were playing a mode and then got into multi-ball, the mode music would override the multiple music. If you weren't in a mode, you could then hear the multiple music.
Right.
Is that is that something that you wanted specifically, or is that just maybe the implementation of the software? Because it's not common that a mode music would override a multiple music.
That's up to the designer and mainly the programmer. I mean, Dwight is, I was really fortunate to have my first full sound package with Dwight because he's such a great teacher and a great organizer. I mean, Dwight knows going in before he starts programming anything, how everything is going to go. And he's very, very organized. And it helped me because, he could make a list and say, hey, here's all the things we're going to need. So make stuff for this. And so, yeah, I mean, that kind of thing, what plays when and how the priority of how it plays would all be stuff that the programmer would decide.
Okay. Do you, is there a lot of back and forth? I mean, all of your projects been different in the way of how much changes you've had to make with with all of the sounds that you put in there?
Well, luckily not a whole lot. I mean, sometimes you think something's going to work and then you hear it in the game and you think, oh, that's not big enough, or no, that clashes with something else and you have to change it. But I did Ghostbusters and then Batman and then Star Wars and then Iron Maiden. And so two of those games were with Dwight. One is with Lyman and one is with Rick and Keith. And, everybody works a little differently, but the thing I love is there's nobody in that lab that doesn't want to make a great game. I mean, there's nobody just going there to punch a clock and get a paycheck. I mean, everybody's passionate about making the best game they can. And, and that plus, if the graphics are great, if the design's great, you don't want to be the guy that lets everything down. So, it makes everybody better.
How do you make sure that sounds don't clash? Like, for example, I always kind of wondered about like spinner sounds because, you might get say 15 spins per spinner rip. Do you know exactly how long it takes for a spinner to turn around, and then do you loop that sound 15 times, kind of getting slower at the end to see what it sounds like, or do you have some kind of virtual sound set up for that?
That's exactly how I do it. Yeah, I try to replicate what it's going to do in the game to see, and usually so a spinner sound will end up being like half a second to 3/4 of a second, and I put them together in a row and see if it sounds good together. And so yeah, that's you're right on. That's how it's done.
But just sorry, one more thing, Lahey. The part, the moment when I realized that was when I was playing Magic Girl, and that machine was kind of slapped together, and you hit the spinner, and the sound kind of like the sound is too long for how quick the spinner is, so it just overlaps on top of each other, and it just like
I haven't played it. Yeah, I don't have any experience with it.
It's not really a finished machine, but that's when you kind of realize how hard it must be to get that kind of perfectly right versus just kind of like playing a sound every switch hit and not stopping it and the sound being long enough and everything. So, yeah.
Well, like I say, my question along those lines was going to be that if you're compiling all these individual sounds together, which, as you've talked about, having to recreate sounds, having to have ambient music. It's not necessarily really your role to make sure where they overlap or not. That's the programmer, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I don't want anything to clash or not sound right, or So I'm pretty involved. I mean, when I'm doing a game, we talk a lot on the phone, and I usually spend several weeks a year in Chicago at Stern. Even though I do most of the work in my studio, I think FaceTime is important, and the collaboration is something I really enjoy. So,
but when you're putting these sounds together, are you sort of playing some of the music and then overlaying some of the effects so they don't clash, so they actually complement each other?
I do have an ability to do that, yeah. And that's how I kind of like mix the volumes. I'll play a music track and then listen to the individual sounds on top of them to adjust volumes. And then there's always, a lot more tweaking as you go, but that's just a first pass kind of to get them in the ballpark.
Yeah. So I don't imagine that getting all those sounds to be right on the level is fantastic. and then you throw a huge scream over the top.
That was Dwight's idea too. He's like, he said, I got an idea. He goes, give me the loudest, just, terrifying scream you can. And then he goes, I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. So I love that feature.
It never fails to scare the crap out of anybody in its vicinity.
I mean, I love the Ghostbusters game. That is, I like so many things, how they turned out in that, sound wise and game wise. And so, to have that be my first game is like, oh, wow, now I gotta do this every time.
Do you look back and think that you would change anything?
Not that I can think of. It to me does what I wanted to do, which is, sound. Because when I'm playing, I want to be immersed. And so I wanted it to feel like you're right back there in the middle 80s and in the movie. And I think it kind of gives you that vibe. It's an interesting mix because some of it is more contemporary music, but it kind of all fits in. I kind of, you change gears and like on PK Frenzy and stuff like that. But I think it works as a package.
My favorite was the Gozerian music. I would always play that ladder so that when I get to the third modes, I love the way that kind of that beat kicked in. I was like, anyway. How much, you've got so many sounds. I think in Batman, when you open up the sound file, there's thousands. I think there's like 3,500 or something crazy.
Yeah, that's right.
Way. So, do you put more in there than you think is needed so that you only need a once-off licensor approval? Like, how does your sound engineering tie into licensor approval? Do you just give them all the files and say, approve this?
Well, every license is different, and that was a nice license because we had so much available. And Lyman works a little differently, where he wants to have lots of choices, and then and so I gave him everything. So there's so many files in there because I went through all 120 episodes and pull clips, and then there's a lot of speech in there. And so
you've almost got exactly the same call outs from about 3 or 4 possibly different people, like the super jackpot call outs and hit this ramp and that ramp.
Well, there are multiple takes of each line from like narrator stuff. And so Lyman will pick the one he likes and then, eventually may eliminate the rest of them after he decides, that's the final. I'm not, and we did more music than we needed, because I like to have choices too. Because if you get into a situation where something doesn't work, then you can go, well, let's try this. But Lyman calls it the island of misfit tunes. He's like, I'm not sure about that one. Let's put it over here. And that's the thing to me. And Batman is what a special game. Getting to record Burt Ward and Adam West, and getting to do a game with George Gomez and Lyman Sheets. Come on. I started as a pinball fan. I was just a few years ago. I'm the guy dragging all of my translates and everything else through the line at Expo, having them all signed. I was a fan, and I'll tell you, I love Steve Ritchie stories. So the first time I met Steve Ritchie was at the Texas show in 2002, and I was so nervous. I go up there with my translate, and I said, "Would you sign this for me?" And he said, "It was Star Trek Next Generation." He said, "Do you own this game?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Does it work?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "That's rare." So, I love Steve. And
what games do you own? Let's get a bit of background about Jerry Thompson. So you said you're a pinball fan. Like, how many games are you rocking your collection at the moment?
I haven't walked through and counted them lately. I usually have about between 20, 25 pins and around 15 classic vids, but so the Batman, so what I was saying about, here I am in the factory at night working with George and Lyman, getting Batman ready for Expo. And I'm thinking, this is so surreal because, here I was, asking these guys for their autograph, and now I'm getting to do a game with them. I mean, I'm so fortunate. I love going to work. And so George asked me that night, he said, so is making a pinball game everything you thought it would be? And I said, it's a whole lot more work than I thought. And it's more fun than I did radio and all that. Greg Ferris said to me, he goes, you had such a cool job. You met all these rock stars and introduced people in front of thousands. And wow, that's cool. I go, no, you got the cool job. You get to make pinball games.
So you're saying that it's obviously it is more hard work, but is it different than what you thought it would be to work on sound in pinball? Well, let's take a step back. You remember you went up to them and said, "Trust me on Ghostbusters. I've got this." So,
well, I thought, yeah. So I thought, I had a package together for it, and I thought, wow, this is not bad. I'm done. And then the work started. Right. Yeah. So then it's like, well, we got all these display effects to do, and we got this, and so, yeah, but man, I mean, it's not really work when you love it.
So how long does it take from the start when they give you the call and say, Jerry, we're doing, Batman or Iron Man, and you start that day? When do you finish? How many months?
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on how long the programming goes and if I'm still doing stuff. But usually a game will take, I mean, these days, year and a half. Okay.
And how much?
Go ahead.
It's probably hard to quantify your work that you're doing in that time. But I mean, are you working a couple of times a week on the game or every day?
Because I have more than one thing going. I usually do something, or a lot, depending on what needs to be done every day for Stern. So yeah, it's like a regular job. It's not just hey, I'm going to work 2 weeks a month or, a month a year on something. I go through the whole process from start to finish.
And so how do you go from working from something like, you're talking about Ghostbusters and you really wanted that 80s sound, to then, jump forward to Iron Maiden being a rock pin? How do you manage the leap between those two things?
I guess maybe just because I've had experience over the years of producing so much different station imaging things for rock stations, country, whatever. I'm able to switch gears, and I like being busy and working. I mean, even back when I was doing mornings on the radio, I had like 5 or so TV stations and several radio stations that I was doing in addition to my regular job. So I like staying busy and doing lots of things. And so I'm able to switch gears pretty quickly. And I mean, that music is such great pinball music. And then, so you just kind of, when you hear the music, I just kind of think, well, what's going to sound good with that? And I mean, I try to orbits or ramps, you want to have some movement to the sound and impact to targets and things like that. So
do you think it's like a thankless job? Like, do you think that people like the sound in your pinball machines, but they don't know that it's happening? Like I said, like you're talking about the movement from like when you hit a ramp, maybe there's an opto at the start. So you start the sound, and then when you complete the ramp, it plays another sound. But do you think that a lot of people like don't actually know what's going on while that's happening?
Honestly, I didn't know until Ghostbusters. I didn't realize. And so probably, but that's okay. I mean, if I've done my job well, you don't notice it. It just feels right. But, like you said about the spinner, if it's wrong, then you notice it. So, I mean, I'm fine if, I mean, if you go and play the game and it feels right to you, then great. I did what I'm supposed to do.
Do you ever read feedback on games, maybe on Pinside or elsewhere, regarding certain sound bits? I know when like Ghostbusters came out, I mean, people were complaining before the game was even shown, like when they announced that Ray Parker Jr.'s Ghostbusters theme was going to be in there, everyone's like, oh my god, like if I have to hear that song every single time, I'm going to pull my hair out, this and that. And of course it wasn't, but like do you read that feedback and maybe take any of it on board? Any constructive feedback on forums?
I see it sometimes. I don't read it regularly. And I mean, I think you have to take any feedback and weigh it. no matter where it's from. If you don't, then, you're not going to grow. But I also think, you have to trust yourself. I want to play the game, and if it feels right to me, then I think, okay, because I've owned games for so long, and I play, and I got a good feel of, what a fun game is, and so I kind of have to trust my gut on it,
Well, and so, Stern are obviously coming to you for the sounds, but you've also got to work with external people on sound as well. So if as you mentioned before, there's someone doing music or somebody doing voice call-outs as well. Is there a lot of reworking that needs to be done when you are also working with external people as well?
Not really, because I'm usually on the voice session and kind of explain to them. I mean, they don't know what a pop bumper is if it's just a voice talent, that doesn't know pinball, and they don't know what some of the things mean. So you have to explain that to them. But I'm fortunate that I've got some music guys that I've known and worked with, and they, I can say, hey, can you give me this? And they know, and it's I've been fortunate with that because I'm not, I'm kind of like. The fun part of it too is I get to kind of be like a casting director. If I can, I've got a guy that's really great with orchestral music, I can get him, or and so that's the fun part of it too. Is finding the right people and finding the right voice guys. I mean, I love the voice work in Iron Maiden.
Yeah, well, that's what Keith was saying last week. Is that you said you've got this guy, and he'd worked on, I think we said Batman, and absolutely nailed it. When you first heard it come back, did you just go, yep, absolutely nailed it? Or were you a bit surprised about how great it was?
He's pretty versatile. His name is Rick Zeef, and he's an actor, voice actor in LA. And he was nominated for an Emmy recently for his work. He plays Spike the dog on the Tom and Jerry show. And so he's a really talented guy. But yeah, I mean, that, you wouldn't know it was the same guy. And then he brought Alina is the female. He found her, and I mean they sound great together. And I'm just and again, a great guy to work with. That's there's not a bad apple in the bunch in the whole building. I mean, everybody gets along, and there's no I'm gonna better you or snake you or doing. I mean, it's everybody wants to make a great pinball game, and that's the cool thing about it.
So let's talk about like the Beast guy, for example. So walk us through the process. Keith gives you a list, I'm guessing, of everything he wants the Beast to say. Is that how it starts?
Right. Yeah.
Right. You find the guy, right? What's his name? Sorry, Zeef?
Rick Zeef. Yeah.
Rick Zeef. Okay. Yep. So you ring him up. Do you want to do, can you do a Beast, devil-like voice? He says, yep. So what happens then? You said you coached him, so you're in on the
well, so I'll, he sends a demo, and then I give it to Keith, and then of course licensors get approval on everything, and they liked him too, and so then we proceed with the script. But I mean his first attempt, he nailed it, and we were like, that's the voice.
So how does the coaching process work? Is he in like a professional recording studio? You're maybe like over the phone, and
right.
He has the lines in front of him, and then he just goes by one, and then you say, put an inflection on this, do that. How does it work?
Yeah, he doesn't really need a lot of that because he also teaches voice acting. And so So, yeah, you kind of got, well, and like I said to Adam West when we sat down to record, I said, I'm not going to go over each line with you. You're Batman. And he goes, thank you. That's a wise choice. So, and I mean, he knows the character. I just told him, I said, we instead, because he had kind of morphed into Mayor West. And I said, we want to take it down a notch and be, 60s Batman where, you're really, teaching and dry. And so, but I mean, that's just one of the cool things. He came back, he came to Expo, in 2016. And so he came in to record some more. And so I just tell you a quick story about him. He was signing some stuff and he's reading the cards in that voice. And I mean, man, that's an experience I'll never forget. Being in a room with him, and because he could read the phone book and make it funny, And so we did a lot of names and things. And so later I saw him in the day, and I sat down next to him at the meet and greet, and he said, "We did such great work today, Jenny." Joan, and he just starts naming, yeah. Oh, it was, what a great guy. And
so you guys, is that when you recorded all of the names for the Super Alley owners, like the 80 owners?
Yes.
Because I noticed that is actually in the firmware, but it hasn't, John, answer the phone.
Right.
But that it hasn't been implemented yet. But you've got, I guess you recorded answer the phone as like you didn't make him say that 80 times,
right?
And then he just he went through the 80 names, right?
Right. Yeah. And then I put them all together.
And so, were you working with him in the same room?
Yeah. Yeah, because he was in Chicago.
And one take.
Yeah. Well, some of them, yeah. He did more than one, but yeah, pretty much. I mean, he didn't really need any direction.
So there was no push, because I know there's a lot of I'm not sure if they're in there, but there's a lot of funny call outs like hey, don't you know this is a Super Alley and stuff.
Oh,
like
right.
that.
I think he says like hey, congratulations on the Super Alley or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but yeah. So those Lyman will do those when he gets to it, I guess. I mean, he's an artist and he is doing a great job. And I mean, the game is just, talk about a classic game. I think that's one of those games that years from now, people are going to, either say, I'm glad I got this, or man, I wish I'd bought one of those, because it's got so many clips and so show is so well integrated.
How about Star Wars, right? So Star Wars, massive franchise.
Right.
Was there much restriction on sounds to use? And did you actually have to create a lot of new assets?
They provide what you need, which is great. I mean, they gave us whatever we needed out of the movies. And so, and you can't really create those, recreate those iconic sounds. I mean, you can't make your own blaster or Millennium Falcon and or X-Wing. I mean, those are iconic sounds, so they have to come from them. But there's still other things. I mean, we were fortunate to get some of the John Williams original score, but other pieces of music have to be created. And but yeah, that was fortunate to get so much content from the movie.
Are you also having to then thinking about the speaker systems in each of the machines, as kind of putting your sound engineer hat on as well, do you then have to sort of balance or in effect master the sounds for the device and the speakers that are coming out?
Yeah, I mean, I take that into consideration. I mean, the challenge with Star Wars was, okay, we've got some John Williams music and everything else has to sound like it could live in this world. And so, I mean, that's a challenge for my music guy to, hey, you got to be up against John Williams and make it sound like it should be there, And so, that was, but I think it all worked.
I guess where I'm getting with this, like, when do you then listen to the machines from the actual pinball machine? So you're physically listening to it and then have to balance things then?
Yes, I can do it on the computer, when I give them the sounds. But yeah, it has. I mean, there's nothing like actually hearing it in the game, and making adjustments. So yeah, there's a lot of tweaking, after it all goes in.
In a perfect world, do you wish that the sound system on a pinball machine had higher fidelity speakers and like a bigger subwoofer, or maybe like a headphone input at the front?
Well, that's something that's available, fortunately, and the Iron Maiden LE came out with the sub and the better back box speakers. But I mean, you can't know where things are going to go or how they're going to be used, and so you gotta. I think it's great that people can change it or do whatever they want to their sound. I know a lot of guys add subwoofers. I haven't put any of those on mine, but and then, everybody mods theirs to their liking. So and they like I said, for the LE, and then you have the headphone kit available. So those things are available if somebody wants to do it.
For sure. So going back to Star Wars, do you put forth your recommendation of like, oh, hey, let's get this person to do the call outs, and they say, oh, sorry, that's not possible. Like, how did it work with that one? Because I know the license must have been very expensive. So,
well, the Star Wars people, I mean, they have their approved voice people that do other products or movies or whatever, and so with Star Wars, they say, here's our guy. And, so that one was not a case of where we have to go out and find a sound alike for things.
I'm saying for like if you listen to people on Pinside, like these massive Star Wars fans, like, I really wish like Mark Hamill did it. Is that not in the question because of like the dollars that he would? I
can't imagine what that would cost. Also, if he would even do it. I mean, there's a reason Tom Hanks was not on the back glass of Apollo 13 or, Michael J. Fox wasn't on Back to the Future. I mean, some people don't want to do that. So it's, that's the other thing I had no idea about is the intricacies of licensing and how everyone is different. And, it's easy to be a fan and to be passionate and say, wow, I wish this should have been this way or that way. But I mean, until you know all the details and everything that goes into it, I mean, everybody's goal at Stern is to make a great game and to make it as best they can and with what they're allowed to do, and so I know, nobody's ever going to be happy 100% of the time, but it's, believe me when I say we're giving you everything we can give you.
Yeah. Do licenses, when you submit the files for, approval, do they want to see it cohesively together? Do they want to see an example of gameplay and see how the sounds kind of match up together? Or are they literally like clicking on a WAV file and it's a pop bumper sound that lasts like, 0.01 of a second? And they say, okay, yeah, that sounds good as a pop bumper sound.
I'm not there every day, so I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe the Star Wars people came in and played the game and saw, physically saw it. Again, different situation, but some licensors, I'm sure, will give you the stuff, and then they still have to see it, but they may not have a physical game. But I mean, when you have the most valuable property in the world, I guess you want to be on top of it. So, is there any? I know it's probably going to be hard to answer this one because you know a lot more than we do, but is there a theme that you would love for people to be making to pinball because you just think orally you will go absolutely crazy putting something together? Oh, you mean my dream project to work on? Yeah, because most people, when we ask dream theme for pinball, they're thinking about the visuals. Again, it comes back to what we're saying about how sometimes the sound engineer or the sound person can be a bit of an unsung hero. But when people are thinking dream theme, the first thing they think of is visually how it looks. But you would be looking at this very differently, thinking orally, right, how would you put a killer sound package together? Yeah, well, if anything I say would become speculation, yes. And so I shouldn't say anything. You're working on it right now, aren't you? There's some cool collaborating going on. I'll say that. Well, is there one that that they absolutely wouldn't make that you would love to do? No, I can't. No, I can't really say that. Damn it. That's it, mate. They're making all the dream things. That's what they're doing right now. Stern's on top of it. Yeah. How many games are you working on at the moment? And have you ever worked on more than one game at a time? Oh, sure. Yeah. Usually it's at least two at a time. Because one is about to go into production, one is starting, so there's always some overlap. But everybody. It's fun. collaborating with the different personalities. And I mean, and we're all friends. I mean, I love Dwight and Lyman, and I'm becoming good friends with Tenyo, and he's doing some great stuff. We've done some fun stuff together. He's one of the programmers, Tenyo Kleisen. So and I've gotten to know Keith, and I like I said, man, I love going to work. Because I mean, people who hate their job, hate their friend, hate the people at work.
Yeah,
but that's not the case. I mean, I look forward to my trips out there to work. I mean, we end up. Lyman sent a meal plan. He's like, "Here's the meal plan for Jerry's visit this week: pizza." So we end up spending a lot of time together too outside of work, and so it's. I value my job there, but the people and the relationships too.
Well, that's everyone that we've spoken to from Stern has said that. Now, on the surface, everyone that works with Stern that's on a podcast is going to have to say that, but it is actually genuine that people really like working with each other. There's actually some fun banter between people as well that makes it fun.
Yeah.
That was pretty great.
You're not the only sound guy at Stern either, right? Like, you're not doing every single pinball machine by them.
No, there are other guys. Ken Hale did Guardians of the Galaxy, and I believe he did Aerosmith. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But no,
do you work with them in any capacity? Like, do you bounce ideas off each other or help each other out in any way?
No, I mainly work with the designer and the programmer. I haven't interacted with one of the other main sound guys, but that's I would. It's just the opportunity hasn't come up because usually everybody's busy. So
would you ever want to present a concept for a machine to Stern?
Oh, I think everybody dreams of making their own machine.
Yeah.
I'm about to turn 50 next weekend. So, sure. I grew up in the 70s. And so Evel Knievel was, it's a wonder I'm alive because I used to build ramps and jump my bike over things. And, I wanted to be Evel Knievel. So if I had the time and the resources and could build my own Evel Knievel machine, I would love to do that just for fun and, see if I could make one. I mean, who knows? I mean, Keith did it, and now he's a designer.
Well,
so
exactly right. But one of the interesting concepts, and I know that people often talk about their dream themes, and they always pick either a band, a movie, whatever it is. But there has been this alternate theme that a lot of people have talked about, and it's a music-based pin where it actually builds songs and bring a bit like those rhythm action games that you had on the PlayStation where they break the songs down into individual stems.
Right.
Do you think that would make a cool pin, and would it be a successful pin?
I had not heard of that or thought of that. How would that work?
If you think, I wish I could remember the name of those games on the PlayStation, but effectively you've got the tracks broken down into your bass drums, your bass guitar, your guitar, and so in a pinball machine it could be that you go up a ramp, it adds a particular line and starts building that. You then hit the pop bumpers 20 times, it then adds the vocals, or if you do this, it then adds another part of the song until you actually are then starting to build the whole song.
Right. I don't know. I hadn't thought about that. I mean, I don't know about a whole game doing that.
Yeah, there was a concept that someone came up, and as a sound guy, I mean, that'd be pretty challenging, but that'd be kind of cool.
Well, but would it in a whole game? I mean, that's or would it get old? Or I mean, I don't know. It might be cool.
Crappy players would never hear the song, right? Like crappy players would just be hearing just a bass line.
It might be cool as a mode or something, I don't know. I hadn't heard of that or thought of that before. So, who knows? Maybe one day it'll show up. I'll call you and go, hey, thanks for that idea.
Yeah. So the game I'm trying to remember was actually called Frequency. And all I'm saying is that it's not just the one song, Ryan. It's multiple songs, and they are licensed songs, but they've actually been able to split out the different stems, so you can then start creating a song based on what you do. And I honestly wish I could remember who it was that came up with the concept, but I listened to that and went, yeah, that's kind of cool. But it would be quite a challenge, rules and sound wise, to put that all together.
Yeah, that would like I say. Hadn't thought of it before. Now you got my wheels turning, though.
Yeah, there you go.
It's going to be the next game. Jerry, you said you've got 20, 25 pinball machines or so. What era of pinball machines are you attracted to the most? What have you got in your collection? You don't have to list all the games, but is it mainly the newer titles or?
No, I don't have any EM games. Most of mine are 90s and newer. I've got a lot of the newer Sterns, especially the stuff I worked on. But back to the classics like, Twilight Zone and Addams Family and I've got Steve Ritchie's Elvis. I'm a music fan. So, and I've got Elvis and Rolling Stones and, I've got a Mustang LE, of course, cause that was my first one that I got to talk in. So, but then I've got Gilligan's Island, and people go, "Why do you have that?" And I go, "Because I've seen every Gilligan 10 times. I grew up on it, So
yeah.
And I love Taxi, Mark Ritchie's game. I got a Taxi up, and I have the pinball ringer on my phone.
We
I
all
forgot.
Do, yeah. Of course, everyone does.
It's the only one.
Oops.
What do you think Twilight Zone? I'm feeding you the answer here, but do you think Twilight Zone has the greatest sound package of that '90s era Bally Williams games?
Man, that's a tough question because I'm a real big fan of Dan Forden's work on Medieval Madness and Attack from Mars, and then Star Trek Next Gen, and Vince Pontarelli on Monster Bash. I mean, that's an amazing package. But yeah, Granner. Chris's work on Addams Family, Twilight Zone, Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is a really cool package. But I grew up watching Twilight Zone reruns, and so yeah, Twilight Zone's pretty immersive, and so I hope that one day people will go, man, that Jerry made some good games.
Yeah, I think Twilight Zone's really iconic, and my pinball story was playing pinball when I was a little kid, and when I got back into it, it was not the visuals, it was the sounds that triggered my memory of me playing 20 years ago, and I just remembered all the sounds in Indiana Jones and Twilight Zone and Getaway, and it sounds like they have this kind of magical thing where they can just be implanted in your head and just sit there dormant, and then when you hear it again, it can trigger a memory, right?
Well, yeah. I appreciate that you listen and you notice. A lot of times if you see them on location, it's so loud or so busy, or sometimes if you have a lot in your collection, you don't actually get to hear everything. So that's one cool thing about people using headphones now. So you're getting to actually experience the whole sound in the game. And so, the designers and the programmers get a lot of recognition, and Jeremy Zombie Yeti's getting a lot of recognition for Ghostbusters and for Iron Maiden. So, I don't feel like an unsung hero. I just, I'm, like I said, it's great if you don't notice and you don't go, it would be much worse if you went, man, that doesn't sound right. But the fact that you're playing it and you're having fun, and you don't notice, that's good for me. I'm happy with that. I don't need to be, well known. I want to do something like the radio stuff that I did, was all over. You talk on the radio for 4 hours or whatever, it's gone. You make commercials, whatever. There's no lasting thing to go back and say. But now I have a Mustang LE, in my game room, and my kids just had their birthday party here, and their friends were like, here, and they're like, hey, that's my dad talking. So that's the cool, that's the cool thing about it. 20 years from now, when I'm playing Ghostbusters or any of the other games, I can, look back and say, man, I made something that's cool. And that's that's the big difference. That's a big difference between broadcasting and the pinball. It's like I'm actually doing something. You got these guys that, will forever be legends like George and Steve and John Borg and who created fun. I mean, how cool is that to make fun?
Yeah, definitely. Well, Jerry, we look forward to seeing your work on future games. I mean, you didn't.
That's hearing. You mean hearing?
You can see the sound waves as well, can't you? When the speakers the speakers are vibrating, I'll be thinking of you.
Yeah.
So, one of your games will be coming out this year. Something that you're working on?
Yes.
Possibly. Yes.
Yeah.
Two games coming out this year by you? Or?
And what are the names of those games?
I don't know. You never know. That was part of the fun too. Back a long time ago, it'd be like, man, the excitement of when a new pen came out, and now everybody wants instant gratification, and they're like, trying to figure it out or guess or whatever. It's like, it's. I can tell you, there's lots of good stuff coming, and you're going to be pleasantly surprised. And
I think it's very easy to say that on the inside, actually knowing what's coming out. You're like, you don't need to know, just be surprised. And part of your contract is probably that you get to get a game or buy a game at like a slightly discounted price. When you're putting down 13,000 Australian dollars for an Iron Maiden LE, you want to know that the team is working on it. You want to see the leaked pictures. You want this, you want that. I think it's a lot easier.
Yeah, I get it. I can tell you though, that weighs on me when I'm making a game. I mean, I think about, this is because I think about my money that I'm spending for a game. And so I'm thinking about the guy who's spending his money, and I want to give him the best thing that I can do. And I'm not really blowing smoke. I mean, that's everybody's. These guys, you would not believe. That's the other thing that surprised me. You wouldn't believe how much these guys work. I mean, you got guys working 6 days a week, all day, every day, especially software guys. And, they're not doing it because they have to. They're doing it because they want to make something great. And, and not everybody's going to like everything. Like you don't like every movie that comes out. But, yeah. I mean, that's the goal, to make something great. And so going into it with that attitude, it really makes everybody step up their game.
Thanks, Jerry. That was absolutely awesome. And we'll maybe chat to you the next game that comes out. We'll interview the entire Stern team again on the next game you're working on.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
That's a great idea.
Well, thanks, guys. This was the first time I have been interviewed about pinball, and so thanks for making it fun and easy.
Yeah, it was great.
No worries, Jerry.
Thanks, man. So there you go. That was Jerry Thompson. Ryan, what did we learn?
He likes working at Stern Pinball.
Well, he does. And probably the one thing, and on the weekend I mentioned to somebody that we were interviewing this person. I said, sound engineer. And do you know what they said to me? What do they do?
Oh, no. So now they know.
Well, and I said, well, listen to this next episode, because I think that was probably one of the things that I really wanted to get out of it was that, we mentioned it as well, that, everyone talks about the designer, everybody talks about the coder, everyone talks about the artist, but we don't really talk about the person that's behind the sound. So hopefully this gives us an opportunity to raise that particular job as a profile.
We had a bunch of guesses, and the person who guessed it right on Facebook was Mr. Dr. Pin himself.
Was Dr. Pin.
Yep. And on Pinside, it was Swinks who put it all together.
Yes.
And everyone got confused by the Tommy gun.
Well done, everyone. You win absolutely fuck all.
I like all the ones saying it was Steve Ritchie and Gary Stern. I have no idea where that came from.
Or someone from prison. But anyway.
No, let's not discuss that. Let's keep it clean, Matty. Let's head to the news. This week in pinball news.
Oh, you know what? It's another week. Some more Batman code.
I love Batman, Marty. Have you played it a lot, like me, like recently?
I haven't played it recently, but I want to.
It's the same thing we say every single time.
I know.
We haven't played it. We really want to play it.
Because they're just not out there. They're not out on site. Well, I think there might be one in Southland, the shopping centre there, but I don't get down there, so I don't see them. So, but I'd like to, because it is just shaping up to be an absolute classic.
Yep, there's new stuff in there, but yeah, we don't really have anything to talk about because we don't know. We should have got Keith to talk about it. Like he really wants to talk about it last episode, and it kind of didn't make the final cut. We didn't let him talk about it. So next time Keith's on.
What's the machine?
What else do we have?
Well, is Jersey Jack news.
Yeah, they still haven't brought the Pirates of the Caribbean to production, but they're still streaming every single week.
Yes.
Eric sat down with Kevin McNally. This is the guy who does all the call-outs and did more speech this week. Status Report is in there and Plundering is in there, so you can now plunder. I didn't get to watch the stream, so I'm not sure if that was like – I think there's the first reveal of the Plundering, so maybe someone can let me know what the timestamp of that is. I have to watch a 1 hour video to see the Plundering happening.
This Week in Pinball, I'm sure he'll actually do a timestamp of that.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff. You're the best.
Christopher Franchi was on the Slam Tilt podcast. And
yes, he was.
This is the cool thing. I mean, we interviewed Christopher Franchi, Jeff Teolis interviewed him on Pinball Profile, and Ron and Bruce did on Slam Tilt. And there were 3 completely different interviews, right?
Yes, completely.
And that's the great thing. Like we can interview the same person and get 3 different lots of information out of him. So he was quite open. We'll link it in the show notes. He said that he will be possibly hiding hexagons.
I know.
All his
So you'll have to, lift up a ramp or something, and underneath it there'll be this tiny hexagon, and you'll go, okay, that was it. Or maybe. I don't know.
I actually can't remember. Did we? I remember us joking about it when we first had, I think it was Steve Bowden on like episode 7 or 8. And we did the first, little quiz trivia show, and I said, "How many hexagons are there?" And we all had a good laugh.
It was like 200 and something. I think you counted.
Was anyone kind of joking about that before? I can't even remember. Like, did we start this whole meme thing, or did it exist before?
Oh, I don't know, but they were pretty obvious, so I don't think we were probably the first people to mention it. Okay,
maybe I was the first person to attempt to count them, but that's cool. I don't know. That's cool. I'd like to see it in something like nothing to do with Guardians of the Galaxy. And I doubt it's going to be obvious. I don't think it's going to be someone holding like a hexagon in their hand instead of a microphone or something. But,
no, I think it'll be a little bit more subtle so he can get away with it.
Yeah. And I guess we won't go too much into the details of what he said, but one of the things that kind of stood out was that, he works a lot with Joe Kamikow, and he said he's kind of like re-energized and he wants to be involved more, and maybe there's kind of something coming soon. So what did you get out of that, Marty? What more can he do except release pinball machines?
Well, and I think that's what Chris said as well. He said, you know what, but the next step is for Joe Kamikow to actually start manufacturing his own machines. But
how could you couldn't do that, surely?
Well, we're probably before the event, and we can all say, fantastic, Joe's a great guy. Cut to 3 years' time, let's hope, it doesn't go sour like other ones where they actually realise, being a pinball manufacturing company is a massive undertaking. So it's all well and good to say,
Stern surely wouldn't let him go, so to speak, and let him kind of take the talent like Chris Franchi with him. And
no, probably not. But
he would have to buy something. Maybe he could buy Deeproot out. They seem like a good up and coming company to sink your teeth into, right?
Yeah, maybe he could, bail Dutch out and become the new Dutch. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I've got it. John Popaduke, right? He worked at Williams, then by himself, and then American Pinball tried to save him, and then Deeproot's now. It's just the next step.
Kapalpaduke.
That's the sound your money makes when it's going down the drain. Oh no, we shouldn't say their 2 names together, because
we
I think
do apologise to you, Joe.
Yeah, Joe Kamikow was a very serious business guy who's
a great guy.
Yeah.
So
okay. Talking about Deeproot, yes. Would you like a free Deeproot pinball machine, Marty?
Absolutely, I would. Where can I get one of these that are available in Australia as part of a prize?
You can't. This Week in Pinball, everybody knows the website. It's kind of shot to fame pretty quickly in the last year, and everyone kind of uses it to get their weekly pinball news fix. And Jeff basically, he's on the side of the street. He can't afford to live in his house anymore.
He needs the money, money, money.
He's gagging for cash.
He's gagging for cash.
He is. He says he spends 30 hours a week. How many hours do you think we spend a week on the?
At least that.
Okay, well, we record if he times it by 2, so we record for like 2-3 hours, so say 6 hours, and then editing. How much editing do you do, Marty?
About 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, so that brings us up to I think he's possibly.
I think if we had a tally of how much you and I speak about pinball each week, we are easily 100 hours.
100 hours per day. So basically, Jeff's asking for donations, but this isn't just like give me money. The donation actually can help you enter into a sweepstakes kind of thing. It's on his website. We'll link it. But basically, if you donate, you can win a free Deep Root pinball machine. I believe if you don't want to donate, but you still want to win this Deep Root pinball machine, you can still enter.
Yep. There's other prizes there as well.
Well, I mean, Deep Root don't even have pinball machines out yet, so this is kind of like if you want to donate, just donate because you want to help out Jeff. Everything else, I guess, is just a possible bonus. But apparently, like up to I think 4 pinball machines, and the designer will come to your house and set it up.
Yeah, and look, one thing to note, as you know probably more than I do, researching all this news isn't really all that easy. Because you've got to find all the different sources, and yet Pinside gives us some information, but it's people you speak to, it's random emails that we get. We then have to fact check those with other people, and he does it on a weekly basis. No, we don't. We speculate the shit out of this stuff, but
yeah, we just see some posts on Pins saying like, "Yep, that's happening."
Yeah, but I can understand why it's time consuming to actually find this stuff. Yeah, it does take a bit of time, so good on him. Yeah,
and like people spend a couple bucks on a cup of coffee every morning, and they don't think twice about it. So yeah, give if you can. And I was listening to the Collector Gamers podcast today. I haven't finished it yet, but they talked about it. And Zach from Straight Down the Middle was on there, and he was like, I'd love to win a Deep Root pinball machine, whatever it is, but do I want one of their designers coming into my house? It cracked me up.
Why not?
I don't know. Pinball people are weird, right? Hey, that could segue into the next thing.
Well, before you do though,
yes,
I just wanted to say that there are other things. As I said before, there are other things to get if you don't want a Deep Root pinball. You can get there's like Pin Stadium lights, Measle Mods gift cards. There's a silicon ring kit from Titan. All that kind of stuff. Comet Pinball, I've got some Spotlight kits.
Is it an option? Like, hey, Ryan, would you like some silicon rings, or would you like a pinball machine?
Or a dialed-in translate autographed by Jersey Jack himself. So, anyway, support Jeff, and This Week in Pinball is what we're saying.
Okay. Why would you not want a pinball designer in your house? Well, what does that pinball designer or that pinball person smell like, Marty?
Roses. Sandalwood. I don't know.
Did you watch that video that I sent you during the week? So I thought this was a bit of a joke, but it's real. Someone, the Mod Couple, have created the world's first pinball clone, right? Perfume for men.
I know.
And it's I don't know if they've rebranded, like they've just like bought some like Dolce & Gabbana.
Isn't it called New in Box?
New in Box, that's it. It's got a very cool like Stern looking box without the Stern logo, and a like a 3D printed trolley. On the. You got flippers and balls there. I don't know. The first thing that somebody said to me was, "Fucks. $99. Start with soap. Give them
bottled deodorant first. Jeez.
Yeah, some. We call it Lynx. I think in the US it's called like Axe body spray.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not.
So look, for all I'm going to say, I'm going to do a proper review without smelling it because it's going to smell like poo, right?
It smells woodsy. Okay.
Okay.
Masculine.
I don't know what it is, but for somebody that does, I have quite a collection of cologne.
Yes.
I think the box looks great. I love the fact that it's got the trolley on it as well. But the actual bottle itself is a bit of a mess.
It doesn't look too classy, does it? It looks...
No.
Well, because whenever I see a flipper bat, I
Looks like
associate
one of your
that...
trophies that you've cobbled together.
The come get it trophy. It's, well, whenever I think of a flipper bat, I think of like it's dirty because that's the part that's kind of the rubber's rubbing up against, and it's where you get the most contact, and that's the dirtiest part of the pinball machine, almost, right?
Yep.
I don't know.
I can tell you now, guys, when you redo this, and please redo this, when you bring out your Super LE fragrance,
yes,
all it needs to be is a...
Is that going to be one of 30 or one of 80?
Well, they can change their mind depending on demand. You have to send a video in to be able to get this. All you need is a glass cylinder for the clone and a pop bumper on top. That's all you need. Pop bumper cap on top. That's it. Nothing else. That would look great.
Marty, it sounds like you have like marketing, like
Well, I'm all about sales and marketing.
Yeah, you'll be waiting by the phone. They'll call you.
I think I got to say, I thought it was a joke at first, but apparently it's real, right?
It's funny. I mean, it's one of those funny things where I'll laugh at, but there's absolutely zero chance that I'll buy it. But if you were to buy it, I'm not going to make fun of you. I'll be like, can I smell your neck or wherever you sprayed it? I want to smell it.
Oh well, I'm clicking on the order button now if that's on offer.
Just don't spray it downstairs, Marty. Okay. Okay, let's move on. This is getting ridiculous. All right, this is a very serious news week. Dutch pinball.
Speaking of all things hilarious.
Hilarious, yeah.
Dutch
well, I mean,
pinball.
not hilarious because everyone's losing their money. But
yeah.
apparently, I mean, I think this email was released a year and a bit ago, but no one really paid attention.
No one believed it back then.
Yeah, I mean, I think their excuse was, the price was increased for the machines, and they said yes, and the price increased again, and then they said no, and that's when they kind of left. And I'm not sure if we've mentioned, but Dutch actually said that, ARA said they would like to buy kind of Dutch out, but they have 51%, I believe, of the company, so they have controlling power over it. And Dutch said no, because
for those people that are catching up, Dutch Pinball tried to make Big Lebowski, got a contract manufacturer called ARA, and then they never actually paid ARA, and ARA are holding them to ransom, have actually now sent them a letter of suing them, also a letter of abandoned goods. So
they want to be able to sell them, I believe.
Well, this is it. So I was having a conversation with somebody in Australia that's in the know, not mentioning who it is. But is that what can happen if they send a letter to Dutch Pinball that says you've got to pick up these goods and pay for them in 14 days, otherwise it's considered abandoned? Does that mean that they actually can sell those goods?
I don't know if that's a rhetorical question because I have absolutely no idea.
No, well, it's speculation. I just don't know whether it's that clean that they can go, oh, well, you didn't pay for them, so we're now going to sell these machines even though they don't have a license agreement.
How do you think they would sell them, and what price do you think they'd put them on?
Oh, they would be... you know what? I don't know these companies well enough to know whether they would, do the right thing and just sell them as is, or whether they would say, well, there's only 40 of them. Let's 30,000 each, please.
I reckon they wouldn't want to deal with people, and someone would just say, "Hey, I'll buy all your stock for this much," and they'll just say, "Yep."
I reckon that's
and someone's
probably
already. People are probably already contacting them and trying to get dibs because this would be the just like we said, the next Big Bang bar, the Big Lebowski pinball machine.
Yeah, could be. So anyway, bottom line is they never paid for any of the machines, I think, is the summary of this news piece.
Well, no, I mean, no, we don't have their bank statements or anything, so we don't know for sure. But yeah, I mean, when you get caught out in a lie, then it kind of you second guess everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so sorry, Lucas. We have to report on this stuff.
Poor Lucas. Spooky.
Yeah, Spooky's got an update. Where they're talking about shipping Alice Cooper's Nightmare Castle. What did they have to say, Ryan?
Well, they said they're going to start shipping some games in June, and I think they kind of said this from the get-go, but, you kind of just forget a little bit about Alice Cooper because there hasn't been, like, I think Dead Flip was going to kind of stream it when they were kind of happy with, where the code was at, but that kind of hasn't happened yet. So I guess that'll be kind of like the second unveiling of Alice Cooper because people are seeing it at shows, but no one's really taping it and people can't hear it. So I guess I'll get a bit more excited about the machine when I see that. They reckon they're going to ship all 500 Alice Coopers in 18 months, I guess. That's from the start of shipping.
Yeah.
That's a long time. I couldn't wait that long.
Oh, yeah, I know it's a long time, but the way I look at that is you are going to get your machine. So,
Yeah, but I mean, how long can you? I mean, the fact that you still don't have your Iron Maiden is pretty ridiculous. Can you imagine?
It's only been 2 months.
Yeah, exactly. So can you imagine eight times that amount?
Yeah, but you know what? If I knew that
9 times that amount. Sorry, my math is really bad. 9 times. 9 times.
If I knew that I was number 498 on the list and it was going to take 18 months, I'd go, yeah, you know what? 18 months, I'll wait. But if I didn't know where I was in the queue, that 18 months would take forever.
Yeah, I guess only one person's waiting 18 months and some people will have it at the end of this month. So I guess we're, doing a worse of scenario. So they're still making TNAs. Apparently they're neck and neck in sales numbers, 400 and something, maybe 450 or so. But of course, Alice Cooper is limited to 500 units, whereas TNA is not limited at all. So they'll keep on making them as long as there's bands.
Okay. Well, good on them. As I said, they've got a good business model. I like what they're doing, and you will get your machine.
Marty, are you into pinball streaming?
I am into pinball streaming, and that's not necessarily the kind of segue that you wanted to give me. But I didn't
read about this.
I know you didn't read
Yeah, what it was.
Well, would you like to be able to play? Well, let's just say you've got a Metallica.
Yeah.
Oh no, okay. Let's do this again. You've got a Star Trek. I've got a Star Trek.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be cool if we were playing those machines at the same time in a different location, but the scores were being recorded so we could see those scores against each other?
How would you do that, Marty?
Well, you would do that with a new product called Pinball House.
Pinball House?
Yes.
Okay.
From a company called Allplay. So I've literally pilfered this from the Pinball News website. So everyone go to pinballnews.com. But basically what they're saying is that they've developed a hardware-based system that allows you to record scores in real time and then have those scores submitted to the network so you can actually then track your scores against other people. There's high scores around the world that you can, try to achieve. You can then go head-to-head with somebody.
So this is what everyone's kind of been asking for to be stock standard.
Yep.
Who mentioned it? Was it in our interview or another interview where someone was like, if somebody wants to create the framework for that, that'll be great. I can't remember who said that. Just consuming so much content, I don't know who said that, but someone did.
So anyway, I think this is a very cool thing. They've currently got it supporting 18 machines, including, Metallica, Adams, Fishtails, Elvis, Ghostbusters, Theatre of Magic, Star Trek. So,
Why not everything? Like, do you think they have to do something specific to each game?
Well, remember we talked about at when I was at Indisc, they were,
Score bit or whatever it was called.
Yeah, whatever it was, right? So, it needs to be able to read the screen to know what the score is. So there's probably some calibration required for each of the machines. So, I don't know. Or it may actually be that it links in with the machine. So
yeah, okay. I'm looking at it now. The DMD kind of passes
through the DMD controller. Yeah.
Yeah. So they would have to do that whole frame by frame thing, but instead of doing it via camera, it's just kind of feeding off the dots.
Yep.
Ah, man, it'd be so much easier if the companies provided like an interface to get that information without trying to use dots. Anyway,
but
so this thing...
This is a cool thing, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is...
pretty expensive. It's...
Well, I think it's $500 US.
No. It is... it's not cheap. All pay, reckon, blah, 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 blah. The home system costs €670, which is $782 US, excluding the monitor, but including the webcam, or even more, including the monitor with integrated webcam.
So probably in Australia, it would be about $1,500.
Yeah. And then you have to pay a subscription fee as well to be on the network. And I probably could read the article and figure out if that's you have to pay a subscription fee per unit, or maybe like if you have 10 machines on site. I don't know. This is an awesome idea, but it's one of those things that's like it's so hard to catch on when it costs that much. And
yeah, but these people have got to make a living out of this, right?
I'm not saying that it's too expensive for them. Like, yeah, they have to make money, but it's like a new company saying, hey, we're going to make a $100,000 pinball machine. Like, we got to eat. Cool, but no one's going to. Yeah,
I know. But I guess it's really hard to know what the price point for this is, because and they're obviously out there now, so they're probably going to gauge demand. And maybe they are getting feedback where people are saying $1,200, blow it out your ass.
Hey, in our position. In our position of doing a pinball podcast, I think we should totally get one for free, right? To review it.
Without a doubt. So, All Play, if you're listening, and we know you are, we know you're listening, send us one. Send us two so Ryan and I can play it.
Oh my gosh, that'd be perfect. And we could do head-to-head battles, streaming it. Yeah.
And we could be head-to-head, the official sponsors or players of All Play, whatever the hell, You
wouldn't even need to pay us money to mention you all the time and talk really great about your product. We'll talk about it anyway because your product is so good and it's at such an affordable price as well.
Yep, that's exactly what we would say. We received free ones. But anyway, I like this, and you're right. We have talked about that. This probably should have been around. You mention
it to every single Stern person.
I know.
Right?
This should have been in pinball machines a long time ago. They've got the ability to do it.
I'm trying to look at the screen of what it says, but it's in Spanish. So I don't know what Juga and Juga Online means. Competition.
Yeah.
It'd be cool.
Yeah, I reckon. It looks cool.
All right. What else, Smarty? Houdini?
Well, yes. So we've now had a confirmation that Houdini by American Pinball is coming to Australia, and we've got pricing details, Ryan.
How much does it cost, Marty?
It is, speaking of low prices, this is $11,990 Australian dollars, which is about $200 US.
So that's including 10% tax, and that's including a bunch of extras, I believe, Marty?
Yeah, so if you go to mrpinball.com.au, and if you order before July 1st, you will get Magic Glass, side blades, and a shaker motor, which I think are about $900 in total extra if you order after 1st of July.
Okay. Yeah. I look forward to playing it. It's $7,000 US, and I know they kind of don't include tax in their price, and our price include tax and the Australian pinball levy. Yeah. And so it's a bit more expensive here, but yeah, I look forward to playing. I look forward to your having a shot on it.
Well, that's right. Well, we do know that there's some on their way, and when they arrive, I'll be streaming on the Melbourne Silverball League Twitch page, so we will let you all know. Believe me.
Should we just review it now?
Shots are tight but findable.
Tight but findable. There it is.
Yeah, there you go. What else? So there's something that we sort of had a little bit of a tip off a while ago. A new mod for Wizard of Oz.
Yep, a guy called Steve. I can't remember his username. Guyver or Goover or something.
Yep,
starts with a G. Yep. Anyway, the thread's blowing up on Pinside. Yep, something like that. So he made the Red Smoke witch mod, and yes. I'm not a guy that's big into mods, but Wizard of Oz is such a beautiful game, and that witch just looked like she had just a bit of a messed up face. And this guy made this beautiful replacement mod.
Yep.
And instead of her being in a glass jar of confusion, she's in this like the red smoke, just like the movie.
Yep.
And he kind of told us that he's working on a monkey mod, and I just, as soon as he said that, I went and I looked at the monkey, and I'm like, you can't be, because there's no space and there's no way to get this to work.
Exactly what I thought.
And he's like, yeah, it's really hard. Like, it's just taking so much time, but I want to do this. And he did it. And it not only is a kind of a really cool looking monkey that picks up the ball.
The wings move.
The wings move.
They flap.
And pretty damn cool. I think it's a collaboration with somebody else. There's no price, but this is how cool the mod is. I put up a thread on Aussie Arcade asking if kind of 10 people will come in and order with me to get them down. So instead of shipping, 10 different packages internationally, which is quite expensive, just ship one and I'll distribute them from here. It was a couple of hours, and I said, no more. No one contact me. You all can get them directly from him. Yep. But I got my 10 people within like 5 hours or so.
So there you go. So you must have mods for Wizard of Oz are the Red Smoke Witch mod, the Winged Monkey.
You can't get the red. He's done. Like, those are like, people are begging. Like, can someone please like sell me theirs? Everyone's like, no. You have to buy my time machine off me.
And so I spoke to Steve when I was in India. Hi, Steve. And it's one of these really weird things where you look at it and you go, that looks spectacular. He was stepping me through what it took to make that, and it's not an easy thing for him to make. So no wonder he's like, I'm done. I'm moving forward with something else.
Yeah, he posts pictures on the thread as well, and it's a very I don't know anything about making something custom. I got a 3D printer here. I can press a button and start for 3D print. But that's not what this is. It's not 3D printed. No. And it's I just like buying stuff that's already done, and it's actually painful to know the process, because you're like, oh man, you should be charged. If I was making that, it'd be like double the amount.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so we'll link that in the show notes. You can get on the list, but no price and no date yet. But he is taking interested names.
Yep. So there you go. What else? Anything happened this weekend, Ryan, of note?
Some really cool pinball tournaments.
Yes. So the IFPA 15 World Championships were held in some country called Canada. I think it is. Canada.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
I think Jeff Teolis lives there.
Does he? Okay, that's probably why.
So how does this work, Marty? Correct me if I'm wrong. The top 2 players from every country or 32 countries,
yes,
get invited. They get first kind of dibs to say, "Yep, I want to go there."
Yes.
And then if they pass, it keeps on going down the list. If a country doesn't send anyone, then it probably goes to the next highest ranked player in like the US, I guess, or Canada. I think
that's the case. I really don't know how the others get in there, but yeah, you're absolutely right. So if the top 2 people in Australia, for whatever reason, don't want to go over to the World Championships, then they sort of just pass it down the list until somebody is available and wants to go.
So I think Jeff Teolis was like 10th on the waiting list a couple of weeks out, and then they kept on people kept on cancelling because life gets in the way. And then a couple of days before the event, he was first on the waiting list.
Wow.
And basically some guy couldn't get on a flight or something happened, some guy from Austria. So Jeff Teolis somehow scraped in. So well done to you, Jeff. Yes. He had a blast.
So we had Mitchell Sechnak and Grant Stevens representing Australia. They didn't get into the finals. There was also Simon Haxton and BJ Wilson from New Zealand. I don't think they got into the finals either. So that was the top 32 was the cutoff.
Yeah, and then it gets the format's really weird. Well, probably not weird for people that know the format, but It's kind of like 9 rounds of match play, which is quite long compared to other tournaments, right?
Yep.
And that's to determine it splits it in half, 32 leave and 32 stay.
Yep.
And then a couple of people get a bye, and basically it's best of 7.
I think it is the best of 7. So how it is?
You have to win by 2, right? So if it gets to 7 and it's like 4-3, then you keep on playing. Is that right?
Yeah, probably. No, I don't. I actually think that there is a maximum of games.
The maximum is 9. I think. Yeah. I think if it goes to 9, I think.
Yeah, and so basically, when you get to the top 32, it then becomes head-to-head elimination. So you versus another person, and based on the qualifying, I think it's like, maybe the top 8 go straight into the top 16, so they get 2 buys.
Yeah.
And then the next one probably goes straight into the top. I can't work it out. Like top 32, top 16.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I do know is the journey of the person who won. Do we want to announce who won?
Go for it.
Yeah, it was Raymond Davidson, 2nd year in a row. So he qualified quite high and was in the top 16. So he had a couple of buys. And I was just looking at the sort of the results that he had. Oh my God, he dominated. In the first round, he was against Johan Gernberg, and he won 4 out of the 6 games. He then played Eric Stone in the top 8, won all 4 games, didn't drop a game. Then top 4, Trent Augenstein he played against, he won 4 of the 6 games. And then in the final, against Daniele Acciari, straight sets again, 4-0.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch too much footage, but I watched a bit of Daniele, and I think he was on at some stage like a 14 or a 15 game winning streak, and he was just like, I'd never seen this guy play before. I'm sure there's plenty of footage out there, and I was like, wow, like no one's going to beat this guy. Like this, I've never seen someone play.
Daniele is
so
awesome.
Good.
I've seen Daniele play,
and then he lost
times.
in straight sets. So how good was Raymond playing? So
yeah. And look, Raymond's just a really a bit of an all-rounder. And I was watching, I didn't get to watch a lot of it, but he's just got the best of everything. He's got very good flipper skills. He's got good accuracy. He's got good recovery. He's just really in control most of the game. Very, very calm player when he's playing. So yeah, no, absolutely smashed it.
So this is a pinball major, I believe, and it's one of those events where, like, Pinberg and Papa, like anyone can kind of rock up, but this is by invitation only. So this is the best of the best. So like no one that is there sucks. If you end up in the top 32, you're pretty much playing like the best 32 players in the world. So people weren't losing because they were sucking. They were losing because everyone was playing better than them, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So overall for the event, 4th place was Adam Becker, 3rd was Trent Augenstein, 2nd Daniele, and 1st was Raymond Davidson. So well done. Congratulations, 2 years in a row. Well done.
Yeah, the streaming was kind of done over Twitch, and it was a bit lower quality than normal, I think, because of the area they were in had really bad internet. But Buffalo said that they did record a local version, and they'll upload it on their YouTube page. So I guess I'll just link the YouTube page. I don't think it's up yet, and you can check it out in the show notes.
Yep, awesome. That's it for the news.
Is it time for Slam the Top 100, 100, 100, 100?
If only we had like a song.
I wish someone would make one for us and we could just include it every time, Marty. I wish. I'm not going to play it. Someone has. There's a joke between me and Marty. Okay, so last week, Slam Top 100, for everyone that doesn't know, randomly pick a game from the Pinside Top 100 list. Marty argues why it's so good. I argue why mine is so good, and then we argue why the other one is bad. And then we put it up on Facebook, on our Facebook page, a couple of days later, and the community votes for who wins. So this is the first and last time I'm ever going to beat Keith at anything, because Whirlwind got 41 votes and Simpsons got 38. So I win.
That's right. So
how did that happen?
Do you know why I think it happened? I think that a lot of people really don't like Simpsons, but also you had the better GIF, no doubt. That child opening up the door
for a good
was the
Simpsons
best.
GIF. I mean, that was a good Simpsons GIF.
It was a good one.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it is.
Are you a Whirlwind fan, Money?
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. A lot of what I said last week was actually the truth this time. It wasn't even on a flyer. In that I don't. It makes a good tournament game because it's set up pretty brutal to begin with. So I don't really find it a fun game anymore like I used to.
Yeah, I guess I haven't played it enough, but I don't from what I've played, I don't feel like it's a bad game in any sense, but I don't feel like it stands out above almost anything else. Like I was looking at the top 100. I mean, only Funhouse, which is a very iconic game, has a higher rating than Whirlwind. So this is pretty much saying like this is the second best, pre 90s game of all time.
Yeah. It also was quite funny listening back again on the argument. Keith, who was my wingman,
really didn't want to be a wingman.
You could tell. It rules. It has lots of them.
Yes.
Shots. There's shots and rules. Come on, Keith.
I mean, okay, Alien Invasion. Whenever I play Alien Invasion, I always think like the thought process that had to go into this mode at the design stage. Like it can't. I always think when I play a pinball machine, sometimes I'm like, oh, what kind of like cool wizard mode could this have? Could the Hobbit have like a rule like this? And no, you can't, because you have to have like double switches in certain places. You have to like have like all these staging spots that you can't get in any other pinball machine. I love that mode so much. It's one of the coolest moments and modes in pinball. Alien Invasion on Simpson Pinball Party. Anyway, I think the wrong one won, but yeah, I think it's in the argument and maybe the gift.
Yeah, maybe.
So
yeah,
let's do this week. Do you want me to take the first number, or you want to take the first number, Marty?
Take the first number.
I always ask it this time, so you just don't think that it's right. Please generate a number from 0 to 100.
Sure. 94.
94 is
Barracora. I love Barracora.
Oh, you are
Classic.
all about Barracora.
Can we go back to 30 seconds this time?
Yes.
I don't know if I can last a minute talking about this game.
You can have 15 seconds if that's all you've got.
Okay, Marty.
Go.
Please generate a number from 0 to 100.
It'll be 99.
It's going to be 100, so you get Rob Zombie again.
29.
29.
Oh!
Ghostbusters.
It's a great game by Jerry Thompson.
Ghostbusters.
Oh my god.
What
I'm
perfect
going to win.
hitting.
It is very popular to hate Ghostbusters at the moment without the... oh my gosh. Okay. Let's do this. You can go for a minute if you want, Marty.
Yeah, I'll go for as long as I need. We can do 30 seconds.
Okay. Ready, set, go.
Ghostbusters, what an amazing game to come out in recent years for Stern. Art by Jeremy Packer. So Zombie Yeti absolutely knocked it out of the park with how visually this looks. And the sound is amazing by some guy called Jerry Thompson. He's great. Love this game. Love the flipper gap. Love the right ramp. I thought that was quite a bit of a unique ramp, how it goes up and comes back. It's a fun game. It's a challenging game. The rules will get better once they bring out some new code, but it's a great game. Love it.
Okay. I'll let you go for 40 seconds. Okay.
Here we go, Barracora. Tell me all about what you know.
Barracora. Beautiful game made by Williams in 1981. What a year that was, Marty, right? What a year. Beautiful art, the backlash. You've got the mysterious girl sitting there. The rules are amazing. I mean, all these games, the multiplier at the end, the countdown, amazing. You got the 3 pop bumpers in the middle. You got that spinner, the sound that it makes. It really takes me back to 1981 when I was -3 years old. Completing the number sequence at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the drop targets on the side. Spelling Barracora. I mean, who doesn't like to spell the name of the game when you're playing the game? It's just, as you say, Marty, it's of its time. It's of its time. I present to you Barracora. I did pretty good, right? That's how you play the game. You spell Barracora. I just looked at the drop targets and the things on the side. That's how you play Barracora.
Is that really it?
That's how you play the game, Marty. How do you play Ghostbusters?
Well, I don't know. No one knows the rules.
All right, you time to slam. You ready to slam Barracora, Marty?
Yep.
Oh, you got naked chicks on the game as well.
Yep.
Who doesn't like some naked chicks? Anyway, I think they're aliens. All right, you ready? She's got a fish hanging out of her head. What the hell? Sorry, I'm doing a job for you. All right, you ready, Marty?
Yep.
Set, go.
So I'm going to tell you this. Barracora is actually a great game. It really is. And obviously you knew that it was designed by Roger Sharp because you would have mentioned that.
Sure.
Surely you would have mentioned that. And Barry Alsler and Steve Epstein. Right.
You know he saved Pinball?
You would have mentioned Roger Sharp in your opening argument. But the thing of it is, Ghostbusters is just a much better game. Those two side by side, you'd pick Ghostbusters any day. Great rules, great game, great designer.
Okay. Great design. Just for some reason I was thinking of Roger Sharp. I'm like, wait a second. Oh no. Oh, how okay. I need to tone myself down because you don't understand the level of hate that I have unnecessary hate for Ghostbusters. So I don't know if I want to unleash this because I'm like Stern's listening now. All right, guys, I don't really mean this. This is just to win the contest against Marty. Okay. Ghostbusters, where do we start? I'll start with the positives. All right? I'll give you some beautiful art. Okay, knocked it out of the park, sold out immediately. Right, great for on-site. Noobs love playing it. But do you know why they love playing it? Because there's so much random shit going on in this fucking game that people that don't know shit about pinball think they're doing well, but they're not. They're sucking. This game has the most frustrating rule set in recent time because you basically need to set up your game based off the skill shot. And if you miss the skill shot, you're in jail. You're in pinball jail. Little green snot comes down and you have to smack him with the ball until you start a mode. And then you're in this weird ladder system that you can't even choose which mode you want to do next unless you hit the right shot. No. I'm just going to keep on going for 5 minutes. Okay. You hit there's no jackpots in this game. There's only super jackpots. He has bastardized the words super jackpot to mean nothing special. A super jackpot is meant to be super, okay? It's meant to lead up to that, right? But all you've got is, the Scaleri brothers come down, these stupid targets that'll brick and jump over the side rails, right? I don't even want to mention the side rails and how the ball just jumps over there without a stupid plastic mod, right? So you hit those two targets, the super jackpot is lit, you hit it, and Ernie Hudson's like popping veins out of his neck going, super, like amazing call out. And then you see on the screen, what do you see on the screen? 1 million points. 1 million fucking points. There is still a skill shot exploit on this fucking game that they still haven't coded out. All you need to do is half plunge and then full plunge. And because the switches are in the wrong place, basically, and it can be coded out of the game, but they haven't done it because they just too lazy to do it yet. It awards you the skill shot, 10% of your shot, and starts the scene. How many more things? Okay, the wizard mode is not even in there, okay? This is 2 years old, and the wizard mode is like some stupid fucking mode that you can't get to. No one can understand the mass behind this, right? Like, getting marshmallow ramps and fucking looping supers. I don't like seeing like 7.9326 blah 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 jackpot. Just give me a round number. Give me 10 million. Give me 12 million. It's got RGB LEDs, but they don't like do anything. The magnet slings are annoying. Great sound, but the magnet slings will piss you off, and you're rewarded by the ball throwing it down the out lane.
Okay.
The fucking extra ball.
No, that's it.
Wait. One more thing. It is a pinball sin to flash light in your face like this game does, but also flash the ball save the ball save insert. It's not allowed. You're not allowed to flash the ball save insert unless you actually have ball save active, and this game will do it to you and confuse you.
Okay, so you've just gone for 5 minutes. Well done. Just allow me, therefore, one rebuttal on Barracora.
Go for it. It doesn't matter.
How many letters are there in the word Barracora?
Are you talking about the double letter thing that I saw on the side?
No, you just answer the question.
I don't know. How many letters are Barracora, Marty?
There are 9. How many targets are there to spell Barracora?
Is there 8?
There's 8. There is one target that's got double R.
I saw that.
There you go. I've just won the argument just based on that.
Oh, there really? Have it the spelling mistake on Ghostbusters. Right?
You're talking about
Marty,
pinball sins.
How about that?
You
How
can't
about that
put
video
2 letters
mode
on a target. That is a
How about
pinball
that
sin.
video mode, Marty? That doesn't make sense. And it was the video mode was so shit. They put another video mode in there. Like, do you want to play this one or that one? I'll play the other one.
At least it's got a video mode. What's the video mode in Barracora?
Video modes suck. I don't care about video mode.
Do they?
That's a plus for Barracora.
So you were talking about, how you can light the 1, 2, 3, 4 lanes.
Yeah.
You know that there's a 5 and a 6 there as well. No, I just wanted to just let you know.
I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
double numbers. I saw it with my own eyes.
And do you understand the rules that you can do with those up the top, the inlines?
Do you understand the rules of Ghostbusters, Marty? Do you like that massive flipper gap in the middle?
But you know what? I would like
And how about the
to know.
geometry, Marty? How about the geometry of that PKE ramp, Marty, where the ball just sucks all the momentum out, and basically you have to get a hex spacer and shift it down so that it works better. The guy, I'm not sure about the guy who designed that. I don't think he's a good egg. That's all I'm saying.
He's no Roger Sharp. You have absolutely won that one, right?
Guys, vote for Barracora. It's a vote for the nice people in pinball.
Yep, there you go. Hilarious. So that will be up on our Facebook page in a couple of days to give people enough time to listen to the arguments before they vote.
My 10-minute argument on how Ghostbusters sucks. Anyway, it can be a good game. It's just totally redo the software and all the insert spacing and some of the hardware. The sound's good though.
Sounds great.
Hi, Jerry.
That's great.
The art is amazing.
Yep.
To be honest, I mean, as I said, for the people that aren't into pinball, they have a blast. Like people that are average at pinball as well, because they get like these really weird scores. Like, oh my god, I got 500 million. How did I do that? That's amazing. On the opposite, like if I get 500 million and I have a shit game, I'm like, that sucks. Anyway, all right.
Shall we do a competition? Let's just have a sorbet moment, cleanse ourselves from that, go into a competition.
Sure, you need to talk, mate. I need to calm myself down. Actually getting angry talking about Ghostbusters.
How long did you own Ghostbusters for?
I owned it without paying for it for about a month and a bit.
Mm.
And then the guy offered it to me and I said yes, and as soon as I paid for it, I immediately started hating it, and I don't know why, but it then became mine and I became a lot more judgmental of it. And
You? Judgmental? No.
this is the thing, Marty. You have to hate pinball machines. Otherwise, you have, like people are good looking because there's ugly people. I know that sounds like it's not PC or anything, but that's just life, okay? The bearded blade guy.
Sure.
Yeah, he's good looking because we keep talking about him again, right? He's a good looking guy because there's some average looking people, and that's okay. That doesn't make you a nice person or anything. No. But you have to hate pinball machines. I don't believe in the notion that every pinball is. Yes, every pinball is a good pinball machine, but
except for Rolling Stones.
Except I love how you shoved that in the interview.
You didn't get it.
No, wait.
So Jerry, just so you know, because you will be listening to this after, I have been on record many times saying that Rolling Stones by Stern is the worst pinball machine ever made.
But you have to say that so that you like Star Trek, right?
Right.
They're not all good. They're not all different levels of good. They're like Zombie Eddie said. Everything's a different level of hate. All right.
Competition time.
Yeah, go for it, Marty. You explain it.
Oh, I don't know. All I know is that you've written Star Wars comp. What are we giving away in the competition? And then I can explain the comp.
So we're giving away a Stern Star Wars translate. I believe it's a Pro translate.
Sure.
Signed by nobody. I can sign it if you want.
Yeah, we can sign it.
If you want to devalue it. Donated by Jared Mendoza of Facebook fame. Hi, Jared.
Hello. So what we're going to do, we had so much fun with our Pirates competition where people sent in voice clips and sound clips doing their best pirate impersonation or pirate poetry. That worked as well. So this time, to win this Star Wars translate, you need to send us a sound clip of you doing your best Yoda impersonation about something pinball related.
Yep, it doesn't have to be long. It can be as short as you want. Just make us laugh. And this time we're not putting it to Well, we won't put it to a Facebook vote unless we can't decide on a winner. If we can decide on a winner, then we will decide the winner. We will be able to ship this to anyone in Australia, or if you're going to Pinburg, Marty will bring it along.
Yeah, or I'll just hand it to somebody at Pinburg with some money and say, post it to this address.
Yeah, or we can do that. But unfortunately, if you're in Spain or where are all of our listeners from, Marty? Aruba. We got a lot of listeners in Aruba for some reason.
We got 4 listeners from Aruba one week.
Where is Aruba?
I don't know, Caribbean somewhere.
Okay. Oh man, that's so cool.
Yep.
Hello,
very cool.
People in Aruba.
It was. I would say. Let's just put it out there. It was probably somebody on vacation.
You ruined it for me. Or someone using like a VPN because they don't want their work to know that they're listening to the greatest pinball podcast of all time at work. Okay. So send it in to head2headpinball@gmail.com. That's headpinball@gmail.com. Doesn't matter if it's in a WAV or a MP3 file or whatever your iPhone or Android phone records as. Just open up the little memo app, record something funny, and send it in. You have until next week to do it. So by the time the episode airs, we will decide who the winner is.
Yep. Awesome. We look forward to hearing them.
This week in Pinball.
I love it. That really worked. Sponsored
by New Inbox Cologne. Stop smelling like a dirty bastard. What did we both do this week, Marty?
So we both went to the Rosstown Retro Pinball Arcade for qualifying. How'd we go?
Okay. Okay, I was just happy. Okay, this is the guy who has the Paragon with the gate or the little protector thing, so you can't get scissored. I was happy to be there while everyone was getting scissored because guys, we did it. He removed that little gate. I was so happy. Man, I love Paragon. It's just such a cool game.
It is.
I kind of want every pinball machine, but Paragon is up there. Yeah, I did pretty bad. I still hadn't got the billion shot on Bride of Pinbot, and I was like, okay, well, this is my chance to do it because I never get to play this game. I got into multi-ball. I shot up that ramp. Big wheel goes on. 5 million. I swore so freaking loud, and his kid was like right there next to me. I felt so embarrassed, and then I was like, "What do I do now?" And I guess I had to follow your advice from last year, if you remember. I just kept on shooting the left ramp, and I finally got the billion shot. So I was happy. At that point, I was like, "All right, I'm just going to drain my balls, move on to the next pinball machine." You did the same thing, Marty, except your game was about 45 minutes long.
Do you know what? I think it did go for about 45 minutes, and I actually got. Well, my final score was 4 billion, but that big wheel shot that gets you the billionaire, I would have done that 20 times minimum. But I actually had a malfunction on the machine, so it's actually got 3 balls in the machine instead of 2. So I locked 2 balls up into the bride in her eyes. I shot it into her eyes, and it then shot out another ball into the plunger lane, and that was it. So we opened it up. We tried to then, do the ball. So we took the ball out, started ball searching, but then every time I got up the ramp, it would just go into one of the eyes and then come straight down and not stop. So I ended up having to finish the game and get a consolation ball, and I did nothing on that consolation ball. So I ended up over 4 billion, which was respectable.
Second highest score of the day, I think.
It was, yeah. So
yeah. I mean, a lot of the games, I mean, they're all old school games, so they're all brutal. And
that's the most modern game there.
Yeah, and basically this is just qualifying, so everyone goes there throughout the day at any time they want. I think he started at like 7 a.m. or something ridiculous and finished at 11 p.m. And everyone just put their scores in, and we still don't know how we went. Last year, if you guys remember, I mysteriously qualified first, which doesn't make sense. I've never played any of these games before. This year, I guarantee I did not qualify anywhere near first. I had a really good game on Fathom, Marty.
Yeah. What was your score? Like, you say a good game, like a good game on Fathom, particularly that one, which was, it's set up pretty tough. That would be, maybe 500,000?
Yeah. I got 19,000. Was it 18,000?
It was terrible.
18,100. I had 2 house balls, so I didn't get to flip. And then I was so like angry the third ball. I just fumbled the ball. So the third ball was my mistake. But it was funny because I had some really bad games, but I was just, I don't know. I'm so used to like playing brutal games now. I was like, okay, that's pinball. I wasn't upset or anything. So see how we go. I might manage to. I think what's going to happen. I'm going to almost get straight into the finals, and that Fathom score was confirmed to be the lowest score of the day. So I'll cop like a 10 out of 100 on that, and that'll get me out of the finals.
Well, let me tell you why I might not qualify.
Why is that, Matty?
Because when I was the next day, when I was thinking about it, and I went to the Rosstown post on Aussie Arcade and looked at the list of the machines, and I went, Centigrade 37.
Did you not play it, Marty?
I didn't play it.
Oh, but it's on the score sheet. How do you miss?
Because it's the very first one.
The first one, you thought it was like a header.
I thought it was like a header. So I actually don't have a score. So I may not qualify for the finals. So that would be okay. I'd be okay. I would live, but that's what happened.
You're not going to drive there and
No, qualifying's over.
Well, someone made a mistake, and because the format changed. So Mr. Facebook fame has to go back and requalify.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I can go back at the same time.
I shouldn't have told you that. No. That's my final spot gone. I'm looking out for you, Marty.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Did you do anything else together? I feel like we did something else together.
No.
I was at your house, but I didn't really knock on the door or anything.
Not really. Look, the other thing for me, I went to the Bayside pinball tournament. We actually streamed it. That was probably the first time in a while that I've actually streamed a comp, and that was fun. I had some technical problems, but we managed to get it working. And this was the I don't know, I think about 18 months in the running that they had a raffle, a door prize, and they were giving away a Gottlieb Stargate. That's right.
Yeah.
So someone won. I didn't know who they were. It wasn't me.
Rick. Someone got Rick.
Yeah.
How did you go in the comp, Matty?
Yeah, not
First?
great. No, I got into the semi-finals, but then had a malfunction on Metallica. The ball got stuck.
You love Metallica. Metallica never lets you down, Matty.
I know. So the ball actually got stuck behind Sparky, so it was actually wedged. So it then... we tried to get it out. I then plunged a ball. That's why we started the next game. I got a consolation ball. Started the game, dislodged the ball. So then it had 2 balls. Let one ball go, as I was instructed to do. Then the ball ended. Yeah. Then there was 2 balls in the plunger lane. So
no keys, by the way. No keys.
No keys. So had to plunge those out, start again. By that time, I'd lost my rhythm, so
consolation balls just kind of suck in general, because especially on a game like Metallica, because
you're setting up Sparky, or you're setting up...
The whole game is about kind of like slowly building this whole, like, to your ball 3.
Yep.
And if you have to start again, then it's just kind of shit. But anyway, I was watching you online, and the guy who beat you in that game didn't know what Crank It Up was. Yeah. And I was just like, oh man, Marty, if you don't beat this guy after he skipped Crank It Up, like he cashed in the 5 million.
I know.
Which, hey, some people have scored less than 5 million in Crank It Up. I do often. But anyway, are you streaming last night as well, Marty?
Yeah, now, so last night I streamed The Walking Dead Limited Edition. Thank you, Jeff and Vicky. That was, I love that game. I really do love Walking Dead. But I remember when we were talking to Keith and we sort of talked about the fact that the premium and the limited edition have got a special mode or something that's different.
About Iron Maiden?
About Iron Maiden, yep.
Yes.
Well, so does Walking Dead, premium and limited edition.
Is that the crossbow?
It's got crossbow multi-ball.
Well, isn't that in the Pro as well, but you just have to kind of shoot all the shots versus hitting them? I don't know.
I thought that was unique to the premium and limited edition. Correct us if I'm wrong.
Well, there is crossbow mode 100% in the Pro, but I mean, what do you do in crossbow multi-ball?
I don't know. That assumes that I've been there to know.
Ah, okay. I thought you were like, and I got to it and it was amazing.
No, because the arena shot is doable. The CDC shot's doable. So is barn.
Tunnel. Impossible.
It's really difficult to do. So anyway, it's such a great game. Really enjoyed that game. How about you?
We went to opposite kind of competitions. We were avoiding each other this week.
Yes.
So I went to Pixel Alley, which is my closest comp, and it's a 3 strikes competition. Marty, no one in the history of this 3 strikes competition has ever won the comp without any strikes until this week. I managed to pull off an absolute fluke of a run, and I won my second tournament ever. I was waiting for my phone to ring and people to message me like last time, telling me that I'm awesome. It didn't happen, and I was hanging out with a couple of the guys afterwards. We're grabbing some burgers, and I was joking about it, and they're like, "Yeah, no one cares the second time, right?" And I was like, and then Stacey was like, "Oh no, it's because you haven't closed off the last game in match play. Like it still says we're still playing." So he closed it off, and I sat there and looked at my phone, and yep, nothing. So I'm just a normal guy now.
Yeah, it happens.
But it's funny because we've talked about it a million times before. It's where the Star Wars is that has the warped play field where it leans left and leans right. I had 2 really amazing games on there where I got over like 1 billion, blew up the Death Star. I just knew, like it was the pep talk that Keith Elwin did, where you learn off the first ball. Just whenever the ball got anywhere near the out, the top of the slings, it's always going to bounce to the out lane. I just whacked the side of the Pinball as hard as I could, and it worked. I went to go see the Iron Maidens on Friday. I guess it's not really pinball related, but since we talk about Iron Maiden so much, this is the female cover band, and they were really good. And I mean, just super talented and super good looking.
Super hot.
I'm sorry, but if you're good looking, like to be talented, it's just the double threat, right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Because you don't need to when you're really good looking like that. Like you could just it sounds horrible, but you can just kind of like live your life really easily and just do this and do that. But these girls, they're just fucking awesome. Yeah. They're just so talented and good looking. Just to be really superficial, but come on.
Now, did you get a new pinball this week?
Yeah, when I was driving back home from Iron Maidens, I just saw it dumped on the side of the road. It was a Creature from the Black Lagoon. People don't want it these days, just from association of some people involved, and managed to get a Creature in my house. It's a cool game. It's you either hate it or you love it, and I'm still going through it because it is absolutely brutal.
Yep.
There's a really weird thing where you can turn off the ball save and put it to 0, but then when you put it in tournament mode, there's like a forced ball save, and I can't find the ball save setting anymore. So I have no idea what's going on there. I might just leave. It's like a 3-second ball save. I might just leave it on.
Yeah.
Having a bit of issues with the left orbit, the kiss.
Yep.
I never kind of like looked because there's so many ramps and stuff there, how the ball actually gets in there. Do you know how it gets into that little kiss scoop?
I do know that it gets stuck there sometimes, but it's a subway, isn't it?
Well, it's not a diverter that comes down or anything. It's actually a one-way gate, and the ball just kind of like hits the one-way gate and then somehow bounces to the right where the scoop is. And when you look at it, you're like, wouldn't it just bounce back directly? And that seems to be happening on like a really good shot. It kind of like bounces back. So I don't know how to fix that. I don't want to like bend it too much or anything. But yeah, the hologram's kind of working. Not the brightest. This machine is just on loan. I'm joking about picking it up on the side of the road. So it'll be at my house for a couple of weeks, and then it will leave to its owner. My kid absolutely loves it. I don't know why. I had a previous Creature in my house it was another loan for like a week only before it was picked up. And she remembers it from like 2.5 years ago. She's like, I remember this pinball machine and when's the guy going to pop up? And do you want to hear a review?
Well, yeah, absolutely. But I also did you know, you were joking about how you just picked it up on the side of the street. Did you see that, I think it was either this week or last week, there was actually a machine that in Sydney that was on the side of the road. Someone put up a Gumtree or what you would call a Craigslist post saying $0, come and pick it up, and then a week later was being sold for $3,500.
Yeah, and it had very specific wear on like the pictures were horrible. It was just like a side picture of the pinball machine, but it had like wear, so that when someone listed it up for $3,000, there was like a witch hunt. I was like, I know that's the fucking machine that was free, and how dare you?
It was a space station.
Space station, yeah. So, I mean, everything the guy makes is profit, right? So it doesn't really matter what he sells it for, if it's $3,000, $2,000, or $1,000. But
exactly.
At $3,000, absolute rip-off. So, yeah, this is how you play the Creature from the Black Lagoon, according to my kids. Hey, V, you were just playing Creature from the Black Lagoon?
Yes.
And how do you play Creature from the Black Lagoon?
You have to spell film.
How do you do that?
For F, you have to make people kiss.
Ew.
And for R, you have to shoot the snack bar.
Yeah.
And for L, you have to spell paid.
Yeah.
And for M, you have to shoot the slide.
Okay, and then when multi-ball happens, what do you need to do?
You need to
rescue
the girl.
Yeah. From who?
From the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
So is he the bad guy?
Yeah.
And you're the good guy? The good girl?
Yeah.
And what did you tell me before about the girls?
I know why the Creature from the Black Lagoon wanted to steal the girl, because he was falling in love with her.
And why do you think that?
Because he's holding her like in a grin, and she's going like.
You can't, this is audio, so I can't see what she's doing. She's throwing her head back.
Yeah.
Do you think she's falling in love too with the monster?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and she thinks it's silly.
She thinks it's silly?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, see ya.
See ya.
She is adorable.
So there we go. That's how you...
some really good knowledge, right?
I don't know how she remembered that, and I actually like had my 3-year-old in the background like being really noisy. So I'm like, let's do it again, and she couldn't remember the second time. So I don't know how she remembered it. But is sliding into the chick, like getting up and close?
No, isn't that the I don't think it is, isn't it?
I don't know. Well, because I didn't know I never knew what it was. He kind of like does the animation of like a slide and then breaking, right? Or is it like putting the film in? I don't know. Because when that guy is kind of like coaching the girl to come closer, like, come on closer, slide right in. I'm like, okay. So first you get a kiss, then you go get some snacks from the snack bar, then you buy your ticket, and then you slide
on over.
You slide it in, Marty.
No, you slide over.
Or slide it in, one of them.
Ryan.
Come on. This is back in like the 40s and 50s. Anything goes there, Marty.
That's
okay?
right. Absolutely.
She did not want to kiss that guy. All right.
Nah.
Hashtag me too. He wasn't listening. Anyway, it's going to make people cry in Rage Tilts, which is this weekend. There's going to be 30 plus people there. I am looking forward to people raging on this machine because it's just. This is another thing that I want someone to explain to me. Why do the slings on Creature from the Black Lagoon stick out past the plastics? I always thought like, people have installed the wrong rubbers or something, but they stick out. Like when you look at it from the normal pinball view, they stick out way more than other slings. Yeah. Just something that I've noticed.
I've not noticed that before.
You will now.
Okay, yeah, it's all I'll be thinking of, and I'll be complaining about it.
Shut up, mate. Anything else? Mailbag?
Anything in the mailbag?
Yeah. Eddie messaged me and said on Star Trek it's very easy to fix that ball getting stuck issue. You just need to replace a small post with a slightly larger, thicker post.
Yeah.
I don't have a million spare parts in my catalog thingy, so yeah. I still haven't gone to Bunnings and bought that little thing. We got a couple of emails saying that we're awesome, but nothing.
Yeah, I mean, we get them all the time, so, thanks to everybody saying we're awesome.
Hey, Marty,
Yes.
we kind of joked about it before, like, just between us. Is Keith going to beat Keith We did Keith Alwyn and Keith Johnson, and Keith Johnson would just like blow up our numbers, and we knew that Keith Alwyn would do too. So who won? Was it Keith or Keith?
Okay, I can absolutely confirm that Keith was the most downloaded episode that we've had.
Wow.
So
I
well
feel
done,
sorry
Keith.
for Keith, but
Yeah.
Keith just is a bit more interesting than Keith.
Keith, yeah. Sorry.
Keith!
Keith. So look, guys, get in touch with us. Please email us at head2headpinball@gmail.com. Always go to our website, head2headpinball.com. Twitter, H2H Pinball. Instagram. Are you still doing Instagram at all?
Yeah, pretty much once a week when there's a new episode.
Yeah, okay. There you go. But get in contact with us. Send through your competition entries for Yoda giving us a pinball comment. That would be amazing. We can't wait to hear them.
Yep, and no Facebook posts these times. Yeah, I feel like we should still be talking about it. I got nothing to say.
Thanks, everybody. We will speak to you again next week. And thank you to Jerry Thompson for coming on.
Jerry Thompson, play us out with Goes of the Gozerian. Bam. Editing. And then you chuck it in.
Yeah, okay, good. Got it.
You better do it.
I will, for sure.
Okay. My name is Jeff.